the same thing. Uh, I haven't I haven't had short hair since God, I don't even know. Like probably like I don't know when I came off the streets, maybe like about 20 2014 maybe.
Yeah,
So
I chopped mine off probably in 2018 when I
yeah,
got back from France. And, my whole work is about moving into authenticity. And I think so many people think, oh, I'm too old, I'm too whatever, I'm not enough. So when I got my hair cut, I just said, chop it off, chop it off. So that's what that's about for me. And it's certainly easier.
yeah. I've been thinking about it, thinking very seriously about it. I just tagged you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're up and running.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I've been thinking about it because it obviously it now it's the cool season here now in Mexico,
Yeah.
but man, it's still a lot, and I'm losing my hair. I'm losing a lot of hair for the last 3 or 4 years. I used to have really thick hair, and I guess compared to most people, it's still I'm doing okay for 63. But
Yeah. It's still thick. It's
so I
curly.
don't know. It's not. It's not
Yeah.
if you look close. It's not. Yeah, not if you look on my floor. It looks like little animals running around. You
Oh
know.
my goodness. We're
Yeah,
so
it's
hard
funny.
on ourselves. Isn't that
No,
crazy?
but that's what I think that was the the moment that I said, oh, I got to get her back on. Well, you'd been writing some other stuff too, and I like to read it. I like to read your stuff, and when I read that little testimony, yeah, that's what you do. You know, it addressed quite a few things. But welcome back, first of
Thank
all.
you.
I really enjoyed, and I think a lot of people enjoyed the last time you were on here. I think we almost went like 2.5 hours, but
Yeah.
and we don't have to go that long. But I mean, whatever happens, happens. But I really do appreciate you coming on and kind of short notice as well. Um, but yeah, back to the hair thing and what you're all about, and that is what I think what I'm about, and I think a lot of us are, in this journey that can be described so many different ways, especially now with all this information coming at us and the comet and the Epstein files and this propaganda and all this stuff to, take your eye off the ball. Um, and you know what I mean? Like, so this awareness, authenticity, transparency vibe is really starting to take root. It defies everything. It defies every single thing we've ever been told because everything we've been told is a belief system. And so, to some degree or another, you get back to the, my truth versus your truth, and they're both the truth. but
Yeah.
they're,
Isn't that
but this,
great to know? I mean,
yeah, but
I mean,
like,
everybody gets to be right. That's the amazing thing. When you
right,
understand the nature of reality, which, I go into with my people, when you understand the nature of reality, that there's no out there. It's all us. Just this is a dream that the soul is having,
yeah,
but your body doesn't know it yet. That everybody gets to be right and we can believe anything. I mean, that's when the limits disappear.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's becoming easier now because everything that we thought was reality is folding. None of it's none of it's holding water anymore. So it seems to be a very pivotal time. I know Franco and other people, um, you know, spoke of this time.
Mhm.
Specifically, he spoke of this time from this past equinox into next year, like into the first equinox of next year in March. Like this period is the real thing. I mean, there's so many things on the table here. You mentioned the body, like we talked for many years about, we're going to transform into a light body as part of this. And, you better lighten up and, clean yourself up. And it seems like it's happening. Um,
Yeah.
it really does. I mean,
That-
it just seems like it is happening to people. And I just wonder how long is it going to be before we start to see, irrefutable evidence. Not that we need it.
Well, that's a really good question. I'm certainly not an astrologer. I'm all about energy, so I like astrology because it is all about the energy. And I look at these bigger trends, and so 2026 is going to be faster, I believe, than 2025. And I think we all see this. I mean, what I experience, what my clients experience is that if you're willing to question your old patterns and say, I'm not that person anymore, things just change so quickly. I see it with my clients. And so I think 20, so there's some people are changing faster, and most of the population is still, they live from the chin up, right? They have no idea what they feel. They're not even in their bodies. So I think next year is going to be brutal. And I do believe that after next year, things are going to be so different because those of us, pardon me, who've been doing the inner work are tipping the scales toward what we choose to see, no more fear, lack, and limitation. Everything based in fear is falling. That's what we're seeing now, the end of the Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but big change, which, that's my work, which is we can know all this stuff, but quite honestly, our bodies hate change. We're not wired for change, even if change is good. So, that's the niche that's my lane that I stay in with what I see is the new leaders of the new earth, because we're not wired for this. And as you know, with the guests that you interview and with the people that in your groups, this is terrifying. If people are honest, it's terrifying for the body.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. I went through, it's so hard to remember things, but I think this was around the 7th of November. It lasted about 10 days. And it seemed to be and I don't get real hung up on the masculine feminine thing. I just, it's a soul.
Yeah.
I think there's been too much attention over there, but it felt very masculine. And, um, and it was crazy because all these memories kept coming up,
Mm,
all these memories, and it went on for about a week. And I thought, what the hell is going on here? I mean, I'm losing the plot here. And then it culminated because the whole time it was happening, things were happening in my body. And the
mm,
crazy thing was, it was all on the right side of my body.
mm,
It was just crazy. I thought, well, this is this, the universe is telling me something. Well, at the end of it, I had uh, it, I had some purging, and it was all root based,
mm,
and I knew it was energy. And then it it passed, and the next morning I woke up and I couldn't pee. I've never had this happen before, and I'm pretty healthy. I mean, I juice a lot. I've gotten away from it the last 2 or 3 weeks, but because I moved, but anyway, so I went through this. It was 4.5 grueling hours. I thought I was dying. I thought, well, maybe I have a kidney stone or whatever those things are.
you're
I
right.
thought, well, maybe I've got prostate cancer, or because it was just drip, 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 and the pain was excruciating. Now I've seen daughters and my partner go through it. Women go through UTIs, and I thought, well, but the crazy thing, I knew. I thought, well, I'm in Mexico, so I can go down to the pharmacy and get some, whatever I need. I looked it up online. Walked into town. I got some cranberry pills. I got some cranberry juice and a gallon of water. And before I could go into the pharmacy, my soul said, "Don't go in there. You don't need that." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to give it like half an hour, because if this continues, I don't care what you're going to do something." So I didn't do it. And I came back and everything was fine within half an hour. Everything was just perfect. And I didn't look back, but I knew that something deep in me, both from the root and the sacral, was lifted.
Yeah.
I just knew it. And then from there, it just went into, because during that time, I couldn't do anything. I don't like to cancel shows. I had to cancel 2 shows,
Mm,
and I was set up that weekend to schedule and put everything on the board. I couldn't do anything for a week. I
yeah.
couldn't do anything. But once that broke, then the creativity started to stream. So I don't know. To me, there seems to be. This is why I like your work, because it's action oriented, and it brings in the stuff that we talk about, all of us. And so I'm seeing this direct relationship between um, creativity, expression, sacred sexuality, creativity, expression, action. It might not be the right word. Imaginations involved, and the direct relationship is with abundance. And I mean abundance all the way around, not money, you
Right.
know,
Right.
but abundant, abundant life experience. That's kind of where I'm at. So the timing talking to you, to me, is perfect. I was hoping you wouldn't pick something like 2 or 3 weeks out.
Yeah, no, I'm in the moment, really, just like you are.
Mm.
Yeah, I what you're describing about the sudden physical ailments is it's been pretty common. I actually woke up, this was maybe 3 weeks ago, and there was and it was as though I done something to my MCL. And because I couldn't walk. And then the next morning, I woke up and I happened to look down on the outer part of my knee, and there was a huge bruise. One would think that one would remember that kind of damage, but I didn't do anything. It just, nothing happened. So I had to stop. I'm pretty active, and my knee just throbbed for a couple of weeks and then it just went away. So when you understand that everything is energy, what we call a physical body isn't really physical, it's just energy. It's only our brains and senses that make it seem physical. Then during this time when all the density is leaving, well, it leaves in the body because we store it in the fascia. I don't, I'm sure you have guests that talk about that. So, yeah. And then they just disappears as quickly as it comes. So we're meant to slow down. Things happen that logic can't explain. Yeah. I have no idea. I know I didn't do anything to my knee. I didn't, because if I would have pulled my MCL, I would have known.
Yeah,
I
I
just
think you would
woke.
have.
Yeah, I would have. I would have really. So,
Well, that brings up a couple of things. One is I've had things like that happen, uh, coming out of, well, uh, kind of figuring out that this had to happen while I was asleep. Now,
yeah.
one of my kids, who's really lit, uh, very, very touched, I'd have to, drive spirits out of her room and stuff, back in the day. And she would wake up with bruises, like somebody had their hands on her.
Mm.
So I don't know. I mean, but I think the bottom line is, and the more important thing is that, what you're saying. And I know just from my own experience, myself, and also, the work I'm doing and people I know, there's been a lot of stuff coming out through the body, and then the other thing that you said, that I'm kind of there right now, this has actually been going on a couple of weeks, the same time period. And my soul, I spend all my time by myself, right? I mean, so, and I'm like everybody else here that's a weirdo. I talk to myself but my soul will come in as I'm sitting here contemplating and will say, this isn't you. This isn't you.
Yeah.
Because I've had a meditation for years that I'll lay down and I picture my soul, like a white orb, in my body, and then it expands to my body, then it expands to the room, then to the structure, and then I'm outside and it's the whole building and the street, and it just grows and grows. So, uh, you know, I'm in touch with that, but some other higher level of intelligence has come in now because
Mm,
it's telling me you can go anywhere you want. You can, remote, people call it remote viewing, whatever. There is no boundary here. This is kind of what you're stepping into. And I'm going, whoa, okay, all right. So I'm just not going to worry about, traveling, different places or, whatever the case is. But I think it's speaking to me, at least from my perspective so far, it more of a metaphor or an energetic statement, not a literal verbal command of the human language, you know, defined by the human language, but something that's broader than that. And to me, it speaks to kind of a hive intelligence, maybe not the whole collective, but maybe a monad or a soul family,
hmm
both living and non-physical. I don't
mm.
know. And this is just my own
Yeah.
stuff that's, coming out as, you said what you said because I'm like, oh, well, that just happened too. This was part of this whole thing that happened with my lower chakras.
Yeah.
So,
You know, m- um, when I was on the last time, I was in tears because I brought up that memory of the Civil War, and I'm just wired to remember. I'm wired to remember other lives because I don't go into story. It's just, so, and I remember Atlantis, not going to get into that. But here's another experience that I had several years ago in a group that I had for years. And David Maria, David and I and three other people. And we, we came together as a group for, gosh, I don't know, 10 years. And so we're all energetically oriented. And when we came together as a group, we could go farther than we would go alone. And so I actually had the experience of the best way I would describe it would be dying alive, being so far out. It's really easy for me, again, because of my wiring, to leave my body, to just leave the physical senses behind. But this was beyond that. And it was a life changer for me. We were so far out that I had to make the decision. It's like when you would die, but I made the decision, do I really want to go back? But my experience was that I had the experience of being this life stream and also the experience of being the oversoul. So we're each part of an oversoul, and then the oversoul is part of the monad. The monad is pre-distortion, right? Pre everything. So, but in that moment, my awareness was split. It was like an octopus. If you can imagine, like this octopus, this big ball of energy with millions of little fiber optic streams coming out of it. And every stream was a life. So my awareness was split. Like I'm the oversoul, or I'm aware of the oversoul energy, and I'm aware of, like, this is my little life stream. And so that probably changed me more than anything. Um, and I'm just came in as somebody who is an observer. So it's easier for some people than others. It's just part of your soul path. I've always been, it's easy for me to be the observer, but this was beyond that. Our little five of us, we stopped meeting, I think last year, and we, of course, still stay in touch and we still do energetic work, even though we're not meeting. But it was a life changer for all of us, really. And after you
Wow.
have that, you just, because it wasn't just a knowing, and this is why I work with the nervous system, with the body. We know a lot of things intellectually, but that awareness was a felt experience in our bodies that I'm part of. I carry, this is what it feels like to be this oversoul. And at the same time, this is what it feels like in your body to know that this is just one little dream that your oversoul is having.
Yeah. Like a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But just like a dream. Because,
but you're right. And like, I've had two out of bodies. And then of course, meditative, the type of
yeah.
thing, even the type of gathering you're talking about, but not on a consistent basis. That's that's a powerful proposition to get together with the same people and go into the same. I mean, that's a powerful thing. So I'm not surprised that you had that experience. The and so there's that flash, that flash where you're not like when out of body. I'm standing in front of a 12-foot angel. I'm still feeling me,
Yeah.
you know, but I've had other experiences, particularly um, with magic mushrooms.
Mm,
Okay, or maybe even a good buzz off some good weed, from time. But and it's just a momentary thing, though. And now with the mushroom thing, and I actually just read an article on this. I think my brother sent it to me, and they were looking at the brain with a brain scan thing, imaging, I think they call it, where they have the colors,
mhm.
and they were giving people psilocybin, and they were watching the effects on the brains, and they thought that the brain would become very active with the hallucinogenic plant, but it doesn't. It
Right.
goes quiet. And there's a
Right.
part of the brain, I don't know what it's called, it's in the upper middle, that is the part that speaks to us, the part that when we say I, the ego comes from, and so on, that part of the brain goes completely dormant, completely dark, stops altogether. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And now you're talking about your experience, but that there's something to that. Getting that glimpse of the all-seeing eye, even type of thing. So, is this part of the transformation? Now, the reason I'm bringing this up again, I love this show because it's so synchronistic. So this just happened to me too, and this has never happened to me. Now, I think a lot of people can relate. You lay down on the couch, you close your eyes, and you go into session with yourself or whatever communion I call it. And I see videos sometimes. I just see like, oh, like you're watching a little microscopic movie, and uh, and that's happened to me over the years a few times. But the other day, and this is within the last week, I'm walking down the street, eyes wide open, obviously, middle of the afternoon, and I start seeing this scene in I guess in my third eye with my eyes open. I'm seeing, which I can't really explain, like I'm seeing you right now, but this was playing and I could see it right here on the right. And I'm looking at it going, what the hell is that? Now, at first I thought it was just an image. Then I started to realize there was movement, like a movie picture.
Mhm.
And it wasn't anything provocative, but what I did figure out was that it was a different place, a different planet, so to speak, or timeline or parallel. I don't know.
Right.
It looked kind of futuristic, uh, in a way. And I didn't see very many people, but everybody was kind of dressed the same, almost like Star Trek, type of uniforms. Maybe have different colors, but they all kind of had the same style. and it looked very futuristic. And then as quick as that, it was gone. But I mean, it probably lasted at least a minute. And I'm
Interesting.
looking at, yeah, I know. And I'm going, okay, so is this part of what's coming in? And then the thing I told you earlier about, is this message I got from my soul that, people talk about this, they'll say, well, we're going to have the memories. And I think of, future memories, past life memories, parallel experiences. Uh, but that's one thing. But to have access, like you said with the octopus, to have like these feelers out everywhere, and you can just pop in, pop out, pop in, pop out. Um, I don't know. I just find it. I find there's a lot of weird things happening this year, and I
Yeah.
agree with you. I'm not an astrologist, but when you say it's going to be, uh, it's going to be fast and heavier this next year compared to this one. I absolutely believe you. I do think that the other part of what you said is true too, because I think for the people that stepped into this year having the basis of the self development and awareness that so many of our friends have had,
Hmm.
that this year was kind of like, get ready. This
Yeah.
is this is where we're going. And then the third part of your comment, which I believe is very accurate, because I'm a real big proponent of giving everybody the benefit of the doubt, but it's become more and more obvious that yes, there's a lot of souls on this planet that for whatever reason, and there's nothing wrong with it, have chosen to be in the state that they're in. So there's going to be a whirlwind of I don't know how you say it, concern, people in need, because everything around them is going to break down. We're already seeing it, but
Yeah.
it's going to go full force. So those are some really good observations that you're bringing up. I'm glad
Yeah.
you're an observer.
Yeah. Well, I, I speak to the nature of reality so that our logical minds can try to wrap its head around what's happening. So, I have my favorite neuroscientist, cognitive neuroscientist, Donald Holland. Is that right? Donald Holland, cognitive neuroscientist, who is not a physicist, but there are physicists that are proving what the ancients have known, as within, so without. Cognitive neuroscience now is his theory that it's just what many of us have known. We're wearing headsets, everything's happening, our brains filter most of it, right? But everything's happening. This guy has already proven, I just listened to an interview he did recently, but he's done the math that there's no time and space. It's one thing to say, yeah, there's no time and space, but he's proven the math of it. So time and space don't hold up. It's the stuff that Bashar's talked about that, so many of us have just taken for granted. So when you understand that we have headsets on, virtual reality, that first of all, we only see a tiny slice of the light spectrum. I just wrote something about that, a tiny slice. And then after that, we filter based on our beliefs. Our reticular activating system shows us what we believe. Cognitive dissonance, right? In the people who have their heels dug in with revenge and hate. I mean, look, I'm an empath. I'm a highly sensitive person. It is hard for me to even see that stuff. But you're right, it's where they are. So it's not surprising to me at all as these higher and higher frequencies are coming in with the light codes, all the solar activity, that if you're halfway willing to question what you call reality, then more comes in. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
you just get more proof, and that's what it sounds like that you did, because everything exists. There are parallel lives. Everything is now, but our brains would go nuts if we couldn't handle it. We're not made for that. But we get these little glimpses. So I love that you're doing that. It's like when people say, "Oh, I like took my earrings off and I don't know where they are and I've looked everywhere." And then you let it go and you look where you just looked and there they are. Same thing. I think a lot of people are having those experiences that just show how malleable and fluid reality is. And when you really let go of and start to question it and become purposeful, become conscious of what you're choosing, th- things just change on a dime. It's crazy. I mean, I'm seeing it with my clients. They are just moving so fast. And what I would say the other part of that is that, I've been at this for so long, is that this is just the time when people are stepping into their destinies like you. I'm seeing it with my clients that I think, where did that person go that you were 4 months ago? I do use different modalities with my clients. I pull their charts, I use gene key and human design, and then I'll look at it and go, oh my God, this is why. Like, this is why. And our minds like to take credit for everything that happens in our lives, but it's always been that oversoul that says, go here, do this. Here, you're going to lose everything because you're going to turn that into wisdom that somebody else will need. So I think, I see that very much as the world is part of the world is being forced to go within. Those of us who have gone within are emerging as, hey, put me on an island and I'm good. Like, I know I create my life and I know I'm here for a reason. So, yeah, I think next year's really going to be interesting because
That was very, very well said, by the way. Um,
oh, thank you.
Very good description. Yeah. And that's, yeah, because if I look at, a year ago, I don't want to get too personal here with my life, but because I've tried to unpublicize it as, after so many years, but obviously, I'm very connected to a woman in this world and everybody knows that. And,
Mhm.
so if I look at a year ago, I thought, well, I'm done. I'm living in, a great place, and I'm with the love of my life, and and then the solstice came, and the everything changed, and I
Mm,
mean, all around the world it changed, and so my point is that after getting to this point, now I'm going, wait a minute, all you got to do is chill out and set your intention. You don't have to figure out how.
right.
Just that space, there is no distance between us. Let's put it that way. For instance, using that example, you're together if you want to be, right? And the physicality of it may very well show itself again, or it may turn into something else. But even getting back into a higher volume of shows in May, I noticed a whole thing was different. And I had deconstructed everything at the urging of my soul. Take down the website. It's got too many of the old components. It's not the right energy. I mean, it took my livelihood. It was just gone. But like you said, this is the urgings that we get. And as I started to, I put it this way: since the middle of May, I've only had one double book. And what I mean by that is, like I just did a few days ago, I'll
Mhm.
send out 22 messages with certain ranges of days. Uh, not one, not one time did somebody say, "Oh, I want to do this time," and it's already taken. Right? Like that's weird. Okay, or even the way everything's just developed. It's not. I don't have the infrastructure. I don't have a website. I don't, it's not like I started all over again. And yet what happens? This guy I've been connected to for a few years, we always wanted to collaborate. I saw him on X. I've been on since September on X, and it's interesting watching the energy flow there compared to what I'd seen before on Facebook and whatever. Anyway, this guy is a graphic artist genius, and he said, my soul told me to start making shorts for you. And so every week he sends me, all these clips, organic. His other relationships, organic. Other things are happening organic. We talked about some of this last time. So yeah, to me, it's like don't force anything,
Mm-mm.
which is kind of weird because and you can appreciate this. I mean, like in my old life, corporate senior exec, traveling around, running divisions, it's let's go, guys. It's attention to detail. It's turning over every rock. It's it's gone. It's
Gone.
totally gone.
You
And
know,
so
I,
if
yeah.
that's what's happening and you're in, I mean, like if that's what's happening in business, so to speak, it's got to be happening all the way around. How
Well,
we communicate, everything.
here's what I would say. That old hustle culture is still alive, um, but it's exhausting and it doesn't work. I don't really have those amazing dreams. I go to sleep every night, tell my higher mind, higher self to wrap me in a cocoon. It is me. You know what I need. Do it. I invite in my higher teams, guides, galactics. And so, like, I will wake up in the middle of the night hearing things. And so, what I've heard, like, I know this, but it's this I here's where I live, and I see that this is where I take my clients or anybody who's willing. I woke up, I don't know, it was last week, and it was like, you are the field. Well, I thought, well, yeah, I know that, but my nervous system knows it now. So when you know in your bones that you are the field, and that because you're the field, you don't have to make anything happen. It comes to you as a natural reflection of who you are being. So, and I think that we're moving into the age of Aquarius. My destiny point in astrology happens to be 0 degrees Aquarius, which is the reality architects. It's what I'm here for. But we're going to see that more and more. The Aquarius energy creates with frequency and resonance. So this whole idea of hustle, like it's still out there, but what you're talking about is really the beautiful way that it works with synchronicity and with inspiration and ease, which is so much of a easier way to live than, most people live like they're a blob of flesh that has a soul and don't believe in synchronicities. And I get it, everybody's where they are, but I'm just telling you how I live and my goal is to get my groups there so that they can finally trust themselves. Because when you trust yourself and you know how reality works, we're like tuning forks, doubt. If you've got doubt, that tuning fork isn't clear, but without doubt, you start to get proof of, wow, this just came to me. Those texts I love to get, which is, you're not going to believe what happened to me. And that just becomes a way of life because there is a plan for our lives. Always, always, always. We just don't trust it because we trust doubt more than we trust who we really are and that the synchronicities and how it's rigged for us. I just
Game
love
changer.
this. Yeah, it's a game changer. Like
So
I just don't do anything. I don't do anything if I don't have the inspiration to do it. And hey, I'm with you. I've spent these last few days working on, my website, redoing it, and some other back end things. I have a YouTube strategy, and sometimes my mind will pop in and say, "Oh, you should be blah blah blah. You should be doing this." But like, nope, not doing it. I am the field. Everything comes to me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and that's funny. Right when you said that at the beginning, I swear on my children that in this period, I want to say 4 to 10 days ago, on two or three occasions, exact words: "You are the field.
Hmm.
You are the field." And funny thing, I was talking to someone last night, and I was walking through town. I'd worked all day, and then it was dark, and I walked up to the ATM on the far side of town, and then they have a main street called an Avenida, and so I'm walking down the Avenida to go to the store, to which is near the plaza, and they have the street blocked off, and they had something going on with the stage, and there was music, and but when I went to the store, there was about 8 horses with cowboys on top, all holding a beer can, all just perfectly poised, and there was a few sacks, plastic sacks with 6 packs, and all I could smell was beer and horses. But it was such a beautiful sight. So I remarked to the person, and I said, "God, I've never seen the energy of this town like this. I mean, it's been a godsend for me." And
Hmm.
I've talked about it a bit on the show from time to time, but this was different last night. Like, yeah, the families were there, and this time the horses are there, and it was just this beautiful thing. And then they said to me, "Don't you think it's you?" And I said, "Well, yeah," because I was even remarking about the shows with them prior. I was saying, these shows, like I just did so and so, and I hadn't done a show with her in a long time, and boy, she seemed different. Like she's always been good, but something's different about her. She's lighter or something.
Yeah.
And they said it about saying, then they said to me, "Well, don't you think it's you?"
Yeah. Such wisdom.
So I'm like,
Yeah, I think, but I
uh,
think this is just it. I mean, again, I just see it with, people in my groups that we're we're preparing, how do I want to say this? We're preparing for this big, massive acceleration next year. And I can see with me and with the people that I work with in my groups, we've just come to the end of the line with some things like, nope, which is identity. The only way we ever change our lives is by changing our self-concept or identity, right? We step into the version of us who's experiencing what we want. But I just see that common thread that the greater part of us is saying, isn't it time to let this stuff go? Like, this is why I chopped off my hair because I thought there was a part of me that was saying, "Ah, I'm too old and blah, 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 and the image and blah, 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 right? Blah, blah, blah." And that was the part of me that just is like, no, this is what 72 looks like. Who's who am I to think I don't have a right to be who I am? Right? A lot of people think
well, you
that.
look. I mean, I know age is and time is, but you look fantastic. I didn't know you were 72. I had no idea. I'm 63. I thought you were my age.
No, well, thank you. Yeah,
I can't even look at myself in 10 years, man. You know, but
but thank you. But I just see this. It's like if people pay attention, go inside instead of being so focused on the outside, there's parts of ourselves that if we're honest, we'll just say, this has got to go because it's just a weight around my ankles. And so when, so like this whole you starting over and, with the website and your business and the stuff, I'm kind of rebranding, not really rebranding, but my lane is narrower. I work with highly sensitive people because nobody's talking about it, that we're neurologically, biologically different. And most people in the spiritual community are highly sensitive people. So this is all preparing us for whatever is to come next year. I don't know, you know.
I feel that. I haven't thought about that in that way. A lot of the transmissions I've got personally since even a year ago, coming into this year, but also during the year. Well, this period, you're being prepared. You're being
Yeah.
prepared. But I hadn't thought about it until you were talking about it a minute ago. But that feels right. And the other thing that you're kind of bringing up for me, and I got to believe that it can't just be me and you. Uh, I I do I can feel within myself and within my lifestyle uh, and experience. I almost feel like I'm in an incubator. Okay, and uh, I can feel things that are leaving me.
Yeah.
I can feel habits, uh, eating, frequency of eating. Um, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like I don't know, like a localized existence. Okay, like my piece of the puzzle is right here, and that is my domain, so to speak. I have the keys for this space, um, and so instead of trying to spit and polish all the other pieces of the universal mosaic, I can just shine mine. So
Yeah.
now I'm going, okay, wait a minute. Um, it everything that made sense before doesn't apply.
Yeah.
If I look at, I mentioned my relationship. If I look at my relationship, and I haven't talked purposely, haven't talked about this, because at a certain point, we decided we're going to be, we're going to keep this in house.
Yeah.
And I would have never thought that the connection for myself and for the other could expand to the degree that it has as a result of letting stuff go,
Yeah.
letting
Well,
conventional wisdom go, letting other people's opinions go, letting the personas that were created in the evolution that we all share together, right? Uh, Requiring anyone to have uh, a need to know anything. Like,
yeah.
and I know that me, her, others like you we're not the only ones doing this, and it does start in this space that you brought to the table today, which is I am the field. This is my piece of the puzzle. The rest of it is all connected to me. I don't have to go out and prove that science or anything. I'm going to serve by shining my piece, and then in some way that to me is the key is that creativity, that merging into action, that alignment of thought, words, and action, that contribution, because it's for self, it's for the collective. You're inspired, it's your passion. You know yourself to that degree, and everything comes to you as a result, as opposed to the old way, the strategies, the structures, the step by step by step, which
They
I did
don't
it
work.
for.
They
I
just don't
know.
work. They don't, I mean, they work for mental people who are striving, trying to prove themselves, and like a lot of hard work, And if listen, you do get results that way, but like you, I live that way. I don't want to work that way. I wanted to say, so yeah, I wanted to say that, at some point, at some point we understand what our lane is. That's what you're talking about. And that's why I use these different tools to help people look at their lives and say, what has my life taught me? What am I an expert in? What is my lane? And I think that, for me personally, when I finally understood this is my lane, this is my function, because we serve a function. We're each the field. We're like a little field in all that is. And then we come together with what some people call a lattice. That would be my little group with David, Maria, and, the others, the three others. But at the end of the day, we're here, we serve a function for all. And when you are living that function, life just gets exponentially easier. You don't doubt yourself. You don't need a coach to tell you what your messaging needs to be, right? Because it just arises naturally. It comes out of you naturally. And I know more people are going to be moving into that place where they say, I know what my lane is. I don't do this. I don't do this. I mean, minus coherence. Coherence, standing in the fire, breathing through it, saying, even now, I'm sourced by source. Even now, I'm fine. There are a lot of empaths on the planet that are here for coherence because we're built for it. Like like a meter that says ding ding ding, that's distorted. Ding ding ding, that's distorted. And for we're wired for this. We merge with the field and we feel it first. Some of those empaths are there, like me, that to stand in alignment, stand in the fire and the fire goes out. But some of those empaths or sensitives point to the distortion, and then other people come in and stand in it. I'm very aware of when I feel energy that's not mine. I mean, I have a really peaceful life. I just don't, I work, I don't get into the what ifs anymore, but I am highly sensitive, as a lot of your listeners are. But I think so many of us that are empaths or highly sensitives think, oh, there's something wrong with me, or I wouldn't feel this way. No, we're wired for this. Some of your listeners are just going to be like the metal detector, that says, ding, 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 here it is. And that's all they do. They point to it. And then there are others of us that have weathered some pretty intense storms. We're the ones who dig up the coins, right? But knowing what my function is, just made my life so much easier. Knowing who I serve, knowing who's ready, who's not, and life just gets so much easier. But again, I think next year, more and more people are going to have that clarity of, oh, this is what I'm here for, right? It's not that you have to work with people. We serve our function just by breathing. And I think right now is the lead up time to know, to get that clarity, to know, okay, I'm really done with this pattern. What fills me up? What inspires me? And as these more and more of these higher codes, you could call them that, from the sun come in, it's an amazing thing to see people waking up and say, I know who I am and I know why I'm here, and I'm just going to be that and let the rest of it go. Your mic's off. Your volume's off.
Oh, I said that was a very good analogy with the whole metal detector. Um, and here's another link. During at the onset of this period that I've described to you two other times, because there's been a connection with what you're saying, I experienced something that I hadn't experienced since I was on the streets, or maybe just off the streets, like 2013,
Hmm.
which was back then it was like a lot of our friends and ourselves, there was a succession of traumas
Right.
that all occurred, and then you start the journey. So I was unwinding from a lot of those things, and sometimes I would, I'd be behind a building, curled up in a ball, and just doing exactly what you're talking about. But it was very personalized, obviously.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that there could be a connection to what was going on in the world, or even what my role was. I had some vague idea, in Soulogy and so on. But so this happened, right at the onset of this, about 3 weeks ago. I think a 2 day period. It was about 48 hours. Uh, it was, it was kind of presented to me, I guess, in a way. This is the handicap that you brought in. This is your big one, and it all had to do with feminine. My
Mm.
mother, my daughters, my sisters, my aunt, all the way down the line. That something that I had worked my way through, but I guess it was the end of the road. I don't know. But when it happened, it was probably the very first time I ever realized, wait a minute, this isn't just me.
Right.
There's something going on here. I'm doing my part, because they weren't, they would pop in. The memories and the data would pop in, but it would just bounce off. And I was really in it though. And so then I realized, oh, this is what you do. This is what you've always done. So bring it on, bring it on. Just smother me with it, and you know how it goes, and then you end up, it dissipates, and the lightness returns. But yeah, the fact that I came to that after all these years, what is it, 14 years? I realized, I mean, I saw clear evidence of this is a direct connection to this is what y'all do. This is real grid work. This is
Yeah.
taking everything in, and not resisting anything, not trying to figure it out. Just bring it on, because that's frequency, that's vibration, that's light. It's not like the light doesn't want to come through. We're the one that keeps it out. And this has all been part of the way this thing was designed. But yeah, that was a really good analogy, really good point. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I always ask my clients about their ancestry. Um, for people that are going through irrational fear, and certainly, pardon me, this has been my pattern. Starvation, starvation and genocide. My great grandmother was in the Trail of Tears, kill the Indians, right? So for clients that are in this seemingly never ending place of fear, it's always generational. It's always that we're the ones who said the pattern stops with me, but it's not mental. Again, I can't say this enough to all of your listeners. If you think you're sensitive, and you can, I'm coming up with a quiz for my website. I have yet to create that to know if you're a sensitive, or you can go to Dr. Elaine Aaron's site to take the little test to see if you're sensitive. But if you are, sounds, smells, chemicals, intuitive, you're sensitive. Um, we're body first. We merge with the freaking field. We don't have a filter like 80% of the population. So when this irrational fear comes up, you can talk yourself down from the wall as often as you want, but it doesn't let go but we don't let it go. It lets us go, and it happens in the body. So, and that's why I use tools, somatic tools for the nervous system, because I hear this all the time in manifestation videos. They're not for us. They're for mind first. Like, say something 3 times and your body will believe it. No, for us, it's like we go into Mayday, Mayday, right? So back to my thing about ancestral fear, if anybody's listening and going through this, it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just, it lets you go. Yes, you have to confront it, but not with your head. You have to, use somatic tools, simple ones. Like I've got, just even this, like put your hand on your heart, one on your gut. When you're in this irrational fear and you think, what is wrong with me? It's just what you said. We're not here to repress anything. We're here to teach our bodies that they can feel everything. And then when we are no longer trying to fix it or make it go away, we feel the fear. That's what coherence is. Say, I can feel this and I'm still okay. Yeah, I can feel this and I'm still okay. But I wanted to talk about the ancestral piece because I see that so clearly with people that have done all the right things. They know they know more than all of us, but it still doesn't work. The fear is still there. And the patterns of, fear, lack, and limitation, persecution, they're still there. And it's just because it's what you said. We said as a soul, I can do this. I'll be the one where it stops with me. I remember when I woke up, this was even probably, I don't know, in the last couple of months, I got triggered about how the Native Americans were treated, how the Cherokee were treated. My great grandmother obviously survived the death march. Um, but I got triggered in a new way with I mean, I don't cry. I saw something, I burst into tears. 3 days later, I woke up and it was like I'd had a tight jacket on and it was just gone. And I asked my guides, what was that? It's like I had awakened from a dream and it was just gone. And that's how these patterns let loose. I'm talking about this because I personally think a lot of people are going through this right now. It's irrational fear. It's things that really that you know better. You just know better. But the fear or whatever, it may not be fear. It's always some form of fear. But it lets go when it lets go. So, and then it was like, what was that about? What was I thinking? And it was just gone. And then my life changed. So I think this is part of what is happening for people right now. This old stuff is coming up that that doesn't make sense. And what do most people do? Something's wrong with me. I'm doing something wrong. I need to heal this or fix this. No, you just need to, what you said, you just need to feel it. So, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to people say that over the years, and I did start. I think it was in 2019 when we were in Hawaii, and I started sitting with my emotions. I remember that specifically, and that was a real game changer. But what you're talking about is like the PhD level, because it's coming to that awareness. Um, I love what you say about the ancestral thing. I haven't emphasized that in my life, for whatever reason.
Mm,
I was aware of the difference since I was a little kid. It was obvious, but I didn't really dive into that. I didn't get hung up on that. But as you're talking, I'm looking at my family, and I can go back. Let's see, my generation, of course, then the children, right? So really, that's two, and then it'd be my parents, and then my grandparents, and my great grandparents. I knew my great grandmother. I know about her mother, So, you know, I can go back a few generations and get enough information and data. There is an incredible pattern on, I feel like I'm in a session,
Yeah.
but no, because I'm just realizing this. So this is okay for me to say. So there's an incredible pattern on one side of my family. And in that pattern of generations, and this is going back one, two, three, four that I know of,
Hmm.
you have very dominant women.
Hmm.
You have a history of men being driven out of the family.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh, and so I can see that. I can see it in my sisters. I can see it in, you know, the family members. But also, what's the other side of that? Now, I was just telling you about what happened, what precipitated this whole little period that I had that, you know, I've been referring to. Well, that was all about my relationship or my perception of a reality with an opposition or with a partner or with whatever you want to call the feminine in my
Hmm.
life. Uh, and I have to say, it would most likely be connected to that ancestral lineage that I just described to you. I've never thought about this.
I
Now,
just always ask. I mean,
yeah, I mean, that's why I love doing this show because I learn things. But, you know, for me, it's almost like validation. You know, I knew when the last of it left and I had that episode with not being able to urinate, and then all that coming out and then the creativity coming out, I knew it was over. Like
mhm.
my perception changed because I realized that feminine's not out there. It's in here. So I literally started having conversations with the both of them. Oh, well, this is what I think we should do. Okay. I mean, the masculine part of me. How do you feel about this? Well, maybe you ought to just sit tight for a bit. That's
Yeah,
my intuition. That's my feminine, which
right.
is exactly what's happened. I've actually was supposed to be out of here a month ago. And my soul said, no, no, you need to go find a little place and just hang out here, plug in. You got your Starlink, so you can go anywhere. Um, and so that's what I did. And I'm like waiting and waiting. Okay, what next? Are you going to tell me? And then I guess a big part of it was what I've experienced this month. I needed a place where I could be alone and not disturbed, and my life very simple. I mean, all I got is a couch, a chair, and a mattress on the floor. That's it, you know, and about $20 worth of dishes I bought to come over here. But but yeah, so now it's like that. It's like, you know, uh, I can see now. I can, you know, I can. It's brought me to the point of I don't know. I don't want to over exaggerate this, but compassion.
Hmm.
Like I no longer look at the versions of her, you know, of the mother in form in all these characters with anything but compassion,
Yeah.
you know, and and that's pretty wild, you know, it really is. And you know, I was joking about, you know, what I was told, you know, maybe it's you,
Mhm.
but you know, I mean, to me, the you know, they talk about like the educational system, the libraries, the last 120 years, where there's been a reset and everything we've been told in science and history is a lie.
Yeah.
Well, there's a certain something underneath that, which is the indoctrination, what is reality, the baseline components of that, the things that we do that are so subtle and second nature, we don't even see them now. We're seeing them now, and
Right.
they're dropping like flies. This is a whole different means of navigation. It's a whole different means of being. And it's weird because, like you were saying, you can't go out there and hustle it. You just can't. I mean, you can try, but it's like the collective energetic field isn't supporting this anymore. Like maybe this is the Aquarius thing, right?
I would
The fluid,
say,
the
yeah.
water. You know what I mean? Like it's formless. So instead of trying to form it, like you were saying earlier, it's going to do with you what it wants to do for how long it wants to do it with you, and there is a relationship between the awareness or what you express or what you put out there. Let's put it that way. What goes around comes around, kind of thing. And I feel like that what you're referring to about this year isn't so much about, or I should say this, maybe it's equal, but it isn't so much about shedding these final pieces, these core ancestral traumas, etc. It's about getting used to it again. And it is innate and instinctive within us. It is, because really every step of the way, we're realizing and accepting and allowing I'm soul. And so with that, you get the virtues of the soul, the memories of the soul, the skills and abilities of the soul, the knowingness of your purpose as a soul.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you said so many good things. I just want to say that everybody's here for a different reason, is really why I use different tools with my clients to know, because some are here for their own lives, like a completion life. My husband is here for that. And some are here for something else.
What is that? What does that mean? A completion life. What does that mean?
Um, Completion life would be going within, not so much going without,
Right.
completing old themes, completing,
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess, completing themes, right?
Right. Right.
Um, so everybody's here for a different reason, and that's the thing. The reason I talked about the ancestral stuff is that, hey, people come to me when nothing else has worked, right? So I tend to work with people who are sensitives and don't realize it. They think their trauma has made them that way, but we are born this way, and then we have trauma. They've been to lots of therapy and nothing works. So that tends to be, not always, but generally, who I work with, because I understand them. I work with people who have big dreams and who are very logical, rational people, and have to learn what you said. Get out of the how and follow the energy. But I just want to say that everybody's here for a different reason. Some people are here to clear ancestral stuff, like I was. If you look at my astrology chart, it's like there it is. You can't mistake it. My Gene Keys profile is the same. But not everybody's here for this big, ugly stuff. Some of us are, and those are the people that kind of hang out on Facebook saying, where are my people? Right? Where are my people? There's a lot of people that are like us on Facebook that we don't really fit in, but we're not supposed to. And again, we go back into, well, something is wrong with me, or this wouldn't be happening. But no, it's teed up, it's perfect. Because the world is going to need a lot of wisdom in these next few years during all this massive change. And so many people, your listeners, have already been through the big fear. You know, at some point, 2013, I think is when, let's see, I think was that when I had the accident, couldn't walk, couldn't work, couldn't even sit up for months and no money? After you go through the big fear and pull and get through it, and you create your life, then you become unflappable. Well, some of your listeners have been through some pretty big stuff, or are, right now they're being shaken and stirred. But ultimately, hey, when those people who only live from here up, when they get shaken and stirred, who do they need? They need your listeners.
Yeah. Well said. Well
Yeah.
said. Yeah, that's a lot to digest right there. I mean, because and I felt this way as things have progressed. That as things progress, at some point, our level of awareness will reach a point where we start to give ourselves props. We start to say, "Damn, I did that. I remember your story. I remember you telling me about that, and you're right." And I appreciate so much that you acknowledge and recognize the field, our brothers and sisters, and there are, and believe me, I have received over the years countless emails and messages. Even recently, as it's gotten, started, the algorithm started to kick up a little bit, and those little clips are helping. People saying, "Dude, this is my go-to. These are my people. I thought I was the only one. This
Yeah.
is the only place I can find my sanity. I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually a gifted human being. Having you know what I mean. And so that's a powerful, powerful truth that you're speaking. Now, it's not going to be on CNN or on the fancy Lightworker podcast. It's not going to be out there, but it's right here. It's right here. And we do have this network. It's there. And just as much as we're coming online, it's coming online. Now, does it communicate the way that the rest of the world does? No. That's why we're different. We're sensitive. So we can sense it. You know what I mean? So that's a
Well,
really, really powerful proposition. That's something that carries so much weight. And I don't mean to play with the words, but the wait is over. Like I really, really resonate with what you're saying about 27. And I will say, because my brother Franco talked about this time specifically in detail.
mhm.
Um, and so, yeah, this is huge. Um,
It's
and
really yeah. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, no,
Yeah.
I was just going to end it up with we're this is we think it's the bells and the whistles and the external multidimensionality and the past life memories and oh I can do this and I can do that, but what you're talking about to me is when the human vehicle and all of its makeup, all of its tech, this is the real transhumanism. This is like when it starts to click and is in sync with essentially the soul, essentially the oversoul, essentially, it's all boop, 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 right? Uh, that's the change. That's like as within, without on cosmic steroids.
It
So
is.
it's so radical because it supersedes and overrides every narrative, every story, every threat, every boogeyman, every government, everything. It and you're right. The last thing I'll say, I feel, and this has happened to me this year, because when I went through this period uh, that I described to you, and thank you for letting me share it. Uh, I said, I, I'm done. Get me the out of here. And my soul came in and said, be careful. Be careful what you're saying,
Yeah.
okay? Because you're resisting. And so what happens? The next day I bang my elbow.
Yeah.
And I'm already having a problem with my elbow for the last 3 months. And my soul was like, be careful what you're saying. And I'm like, okay, I get that. All right. But what I'm referring to really is to be able to, even though I was needed to be brought in line there, is that, and I think a lot of people can relate to this. I know you can. I'm not afraid to die. That's not a threat to me. If
Right.
somebody comes to me or a policeman comes to me and tries, or anything comes into my field and wants me to compromise my integrity in any way, I'm like, no. I think about it at night. A lot of the Westerners here won't come out at night in
Mm.
this beautiful, beautiful, authentic town, you know? And I do. And every now and then, that little voice that you're talking about will come in and say, you better be careful. get, because I was homeless, man. I used to walk around with my keys in between my fingers in case somebody came and I just jab them, whatever the case is. But all of that is propaganda. All of that is fear based. I walk these streets and I say, well, if it comes, it comes. And the best way for me to be prepared is to be spontaneous with my response, which seems to be what's working in the rest of my life.
Mhm.
Like you were saying earlier, well, my mind comes in and says, well, you need to do this, you need to do that. Well, I'm laying on the mattress staring at the ceiling for 6 hours because I have to, you know? But, so it'll come in and say a little something. And I'm just like, the best thing I can do is be me in the moment and be spontaneous in my response. So if a bandit comes around the corner and pulls out a gun and says, "Give me your money," I'm just saying, "Fuck you," and walk off. You want to shoot me, shoot me. Get
Yeah.
in my, get in my wallet. But it speaks to what I know I got off on a tangent, but this whole thing, you're not afraid to die because it's not real.
Mhm.
Period. So all those things that fed that propaganda, fed that thing that was presented, they go out the window. They go totally out the window. And
And
I feel like that's kind of where a lot of us have gotten, you know. We're
I,
we're, uh, uh, we're like, you know what? I've had enough. That's an energetic expression. I've had enough. No, that's not going to work. Right here, right here. And so energetically, as within, without, we're in the no bullshit zone now.
yeah, yes, we are in the no BS zone. And what I want to say, what I want to point out about what you said is that you're in the moment. When we're in the moment, we're not afraid. We're not, I mean, unless you just spent the last day predicting doom and gloom in your life, that might say to because we're big tuning forks. So if you're in this, oh my God, I'm going to get sick. My partner's sick. I'm going to get sick. I'm going to get robbed. That's like saying, come to me, this thing I don't want. But if you're in the moment, you're fully present, which is where all our power is. Presence, that's what coherence is, being fully present. Nothing bad happens. I teach, my guides call it coherence, but it's presence. Coherence is being fully aligned, body, mind, soul, right? Nervous system being fully aligned, fully relaxed. And that's just what Eckhart Tolle calls being present. And that's where all the magic happens because when you're fully present, you're not reacting, you're not thinking about bad things. You're you're not repelling the good stuff. Coherence is I don't know, my guides just gave me this image a couple weeks ago. It's like I always say I help people get back on the balance beam. That coherent alignment is like you've seen gymnasts, right? They do all these amazing things on a balance beam and they love it. And that's what we have to do with our nervous systems because when we're back on that balance beam, we're not telling a story. What if I get robbed or what if something horrible happens? When we're on that balance beam, we're not repelling the things that are doing their best to make their way to us. We don't have to raise our vibration. We just have to stop focusing on what's wrong with us and in the world. And then we become that coherent place living from our heart, and all the good stuff shows up automatically. You don't, I mean, it's just amazing. I love how that works.
I
Not
love that.
just,
And I love your analogies. I just got to point that out because, like, that whole thing about the gymnast, right? Um, you could look at a lot of different things, but I often find myself using a similar analogy, like riding a surfboard. I've never surfed. So,
yeah.
but you do things, riding a bike for the first time, right? At some point, when you when your parents stop pushing you and your training wheels are off and you're out there by yourself because everybody's got their own life and you're busting your ass and getting scraped up, you get on the bike and say, to hell with it. I might fall, but as long as I'm thinking about that, I can't drive this damn thing. You know what I mean? And so you get in, and I've had to do this. I don't consider myself a singer. I can do some things, whatever, but I've evolved over the years. Having a podcast and having these conversations, all these thousands of shows, this has always been something that's easy for me. It's my piece. It's part of my piece of the puzzle. But
Sure.
the other thing has shown me that you think of fears popping up that are life threatening, just different financial threats, whatever. But sitting down live improvisationally with musicians that really know what they're doing, that's was like, to me, was the biggest fears I've ever gone through. I remember the first time I did a studio session, we filmed it. Uh, I had to go next door. I drank a beer, took a shot of whiskey, came back, and I still listen to that opening to this day, every
Mm,
week, once a week. And it's not because it's a perfect production, but from a spiritual, energetic impression, it's it's dope. It's like, whoa, that took. Yeah, I had to get a shot of whiskey. Yes, oh, so what? But I also did one in the middle of the show about Franco, a piece that I'd written about Franco. And I go back and listen to this because I only did, like, that session was probably an hour and a half. I probably did like four things, five things where I was highlighted. And so it would have been like almost through the session. And I said to the guys, hey, can I do something? Now, I don't know what they're going to play or nothing, but they start playing and I start doing my thing and I see the two of them in the back, on the film as I go into this, like the second stanza, and they look at each other like, whoa, these are musicians, accomplished musicians. So that was, how does that happen? This is the field that, it's one thing to say I'm the field and that's it. But we're in this experience. And we got to remember, there's another side to this experience. And this is what this transformation is about, in my opinion. It's not just me, it's me and you as me. It's us. And so that third energy, whatever you want to call it, why did he start that tune that way? Why did this happen? How did this work like this? These are the things, to me, the way I look at it too, is like, you can't duplicate these things. You can't structure them and say, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. You can practice, practice, practice. And we've all done that in some form or fashion. And you get it down to a master level. Okay. That's almost like memorization, right? This is a different animal. This is an animal where you just jump in there. And I've experienced it so many times with this show because people will come together and we're going to do a show. Okay. Well, can we meet first? No, we can't.
yeah.
I'm actually going to meet with one tomorrow because of the the veracity of her story is just, and these are the stories that need to be heard. This is what you're talking about. These are the people you're talking about. These are the ones that can help the world. And
Right.
so, my job is to help facilitate that, put them out there so they can, because I realize it's not the number of views. When they open their mouth, they're doing what I just described to you, what happened to me in that studio. They are injecting into the new grid, into this false reality, converting to whatever. They're uh, injecting, inputting pure love, pure intention, pure spontaneity, intuition, creativity, imagination, all the virtues of the soul in that moment. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You could even do it by yourself, but I do think that there's something about, I know a lot of people can relate to this, where you have uh, a dimensional experience of some sort or another, there's always, not always, many times there are witnesses. Have you ever had that happen? Like I remember I had this thing happen in the bayou in Houston shortly after I came off the street. I had three spirit guides. I had a from a past life, indigenous past life. It was white owl, white wolf, and chief running bear. So bear, wolf, and an owl. And
Mm.
I'm sitting on the bank of this bayou, and as it often would happen when these things would happen, this golden light comes. It's nighttime. And I'm looking down at my arms, and they turn in. I was embodying my spirit guides. And so I was being shown,
Mhm.
So, and again, my eyes are open. I'm looking at, but I look across the bayou, and there's all of these cloaked soul family observing. So I do think that there's power to the expression, um, the experience being witnessed. There's something going on with that, you know?
Oh, I absolutely agree. For so many of us, we've had these odd, I'll just call them odd, supernatural experiences for most of our lives. But since we live in a world that's logical, people think you're crazy. So when we have those shared experiences, it's like, oh, you see that too. When we were in Tunisia in North Africa, seeing the all the galactics that were there was like, do you see that? Yeah, I see that. So then suddenly it's not just suddenly you stop questioning yourself. And really, that's the gift of what you're saying. We need to stop questioning ourselves about, am I crazy? Am I making this up? This is why I take the approach of this is what reality is. It's not real. It's just a bunch of energy. And as you are willing to question your beliefs and start to realize all we're doing is translating bits of data. Everything exists now. There's no time and space. Those galactic, I just happen to have a lot of galactic memories too. They're all real. So the gift of like the shows that you have is that more people for whom this is more new are saying, well, maybe I'm not crazy. No, we're not crazy. I mean,
Yeah, I've
we,
noticed that. That's what I was saying earlier.
yeah.
Because there's been a resurgence. Like we used to do just on the YouTube. The metrics on the YouTube was about 60,000 hours a month. Okay, and man, when I started to kick this back up in May, it was like 5,000, 8,000, 12. Now it's about 50.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's getting back up there. But so what's happened is there's this whole new group of people because I'm good with names and energy, and I see the same people doing it a long time. Another way I've noticed it too is on these clips. So on the clips, you can put them on your story on Facebook, right?
Mhm.
And then you can click at the bottom and it shows everyone that viewed it, right?
Right.
Okay. So if I look at those lists, to say there's 100, I'll know 20 of them now. Like are all these new names, non-follower, non-follower, and so there is something to be said for what you're saying. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just
Oh,
making the point that, or reaffirming the point of what you actually said earlier. This is evidence. There is a boatload, and by my estimation, just based on my experience with the show, and I've always been kind of a numbers freak, so I keep an eye on all that stuff. This is not even close to the previous. This is not even close. It may be 50,000 hours a month on YouTube now. And I'm not even judging it in that way. I'm saying there's an energetic presence in the field that's populated by people that's that's like what's her name? Dolores Cannon talks about the first wave, the second wave. Well, I
right.
can I can see this wave. And I do, and I always have had this sensitivity to be conscious of the field in shows, in my work. but what I'm seeing out there, and not only that, I've seen, and this isn't about Soulogy. I'm not making a point about Soulogy. I'm actually talking about what you talked about in the beginning, what you're talking about now, and that's that the demographics. If you go back a few years, we're 95% women, 45 and up. Uh, Now it's changed.
Right.
It's no, obviously there's more masculine, but I mean there's representation in 18 to 25. Not a lot, but there never was any before, and certainly a big uptick in 25 to 35 and 35 to 45. It used to be, we were all 45 and over,
Yeah, it's
so
really different. Cryon, Lee Carroll. I've listened to Lee. I don't know. I think he started channeling in the 80s, 85 or 89. And Cryon has talked about this time since the 80s. You know, a lot of us have known about it. We didn't know what it would look like or how it would be, but he's always talked about how, like what we're seeing now, the young politicians like Jack Kennedy, right? Or it's his name is, it's not Kennedy, but you know who I mean, Schlossenberg or whatever. He's crying has talked about these new politicians, the younger generation. So these younger people didn't come in with the same heaviness that we did. Their DNA is different. And yeah, it's a different world out there. And for those of us, my clients tend to be over 45, over 50, because they have a lifetime of experience that they're ready to turn into wisdom. Because we don't have that experience when we're 35. We just don't have it yet. Life hasn't had its way with us, right? Not yet. And hopefully in 100 years, it won't even be that way because the energy will be different. But yeah, it's a whole different world out there. Listen, I still get some days I wake up, I know we're at the end of the Kali Yuga. But I'm an empath. I'm a super sensitive. So I feel this stuff. Like yesterday, for whatever reason, was hard for me. So, but then I just have to, practice what I teach, which is breathe through it. We're like, I told my clients, we're like those PUR per water pitchers for empaths. We're here to feel it all. Like, I don't like this, but I can feel it. I know what to do. I have my tools. And then we turn it back to peace, right? So I'm looking forward. I would hope before I pass that some of this gnarly stuff is over and we're starting to see change. But some days it's hard. And I'm saying this for your listeners. Some days it is just really hard. And like, I know what this is. I know my function for the collective, and it's coherence. And doesn't make it any easier. We still have to feel it, but it is changing. It
yeah,
is
yeah,
changing.
it is. I mean, yeah, I mean that's I think that's a big part of this year is we're on the other side of something. There's no question. There's just too much has changed, and part of it is, hey, we're not crazy. It's like those messages, those comments, those emails over the years of, oh my God, I'm not crazy, and it's like you don't, sometimes when something's so close to you and it's been around for so long, you don't really realize the impact. But what you brought up and really the reason you brought it up, we'll go back to, but there is a huge, there is a huge swell that's occurring, and so we can look back, we can say, yeah, we stuck it out, and this is what I was talking about, giving ourselves props, giving ourselves credit, because that is an energetic force too. When we can respect and honor our own lives and even the players in our lives, do you realize what kind of contribution that is creating for the transformation that's occurring? But and going back to what you said originally, and how that all, I got off on that tangent, but there is something about the voice, be it speaking, be it, humming, be it whatever, we know it's sound, it's light, it's frequency, it's vibration. We know that this isn't it, right? And when there's nothing more exciting to me for myself, I do it every night now. Like, nobody knows it. I turn on the video, I
They
play
do now.
instrumentals, and I I probably do, 20 minutes, and I get what I need in a 2 minute period where I just hit everything. The coherence is there, right? But there's nothing more exciting to me for myself and to witness than to be in the presence of what you started the show with, which is authenticity. Be yourself, And so the lady that I'll meet tomorrow, which again I don't normally do and I don't plan on doing it. It's just my soul said, "No, you need to talk to this one." Uh, that's all I'll say. We'll just get on just like this. It's no different. Just be yourself. You know, I'm here to support you. You're in a safe place. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's the goal. The goal is somebody is going to hear, just like I've seen my friend on here making comments about you. Um, Someone's going to hear something they need to hear. And I've contended for a long time that the strength of this platform is it's not me, you know. It's it's a it's a collaboration, and the stage is set for pure expression. So in other words, you're utilizing the senses that we're familiar with, but you're also utilizing the non-physical, the things we can't see, and it comes together in the voice because the voice carries non-physical and physical properties, right? That's just the way I see it, and it obviously comes out of the heart, But so it's the frequency. That's what I'm saying. When somebody says, like you did with the gymnast, or riding the bike, and you finally say, "F it," you know, I'm just going to do the best I can. There's something about those moments, those improvisational, spontaneous moments where you're not thinking. As soon as I get up on, what do they call that? I used to hang around the gym, and they would get the gymnasts, they step on this plank, and they have to walk down it.
Well, that's
The
the
minute,
balance beam.
the balance beam, yeah. So
Yeah.
the minute, so if you're on the balance beam and you're in that space of F it, I'm just going to go for it, and you're not worried about falling, because like you said, if you're worried about falling, you're going to fall. You're going to be tense, whatever. But the minute you start to think, then and I notice that when I do these sessions with my friends, if and I don't do it much anymore, but if I start to think about what I'm going to say, I can't, I lose it. So there's something about that, like you said, authenticity, which ultimately is what? Transparency,
Total
ultimately,
transparency.
right?
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, I think the world is over. Well, hopefully the world is over or going to be over soon. The I want to be rich by Friday Instagram shots. When people just, I mean, to for me, it just seems ludicrous, ludicrous that I would not believe I don't, I shouldn't be me. But that's part of the shadow work. That's part of the inner work. I mean, it's our upbringing, right? It's all this stuff. I use a lot of psychology in my work with people. The welcome to being human beliefs. I'm not okay. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. But when you think about it, it's like, come on, my soul set up this life. And if it makes somebody else's life easier so that they don't have to consider suicide like I did because it was so bad, then why not be totally transparent? I could give a rip what people think of me. Hey, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I get that. But and we're all that way. What is that old joke? If you want everybody to like you, go sell ice cream. So, so, but this is part of this Aquarian energy, which is we are each a puzzle piece. And the way that we fit into the big puzzle is to be unapologetically who we are, meaning, sharing not just the good stuff, but sharing the hard stuff. The stuff, because I just heard this from a client. She finally realized that there's no there to get to. Like, and I think maybe some people think that like, oh, well, after I get over this, then things will get easier and I won't feel fear again. No, it doesn't work that way. I still feel fear. I just go, oh, it's my some old story. Like, come on in, fear. Come on in. Let me feel you. I don't make it mean anything. But I think so many people berate themselves because they have some form of perfectionism that just, hey, we're here for the mess. We're here to have, I mean, I was a hot mess in my 40s, hot mess. Now, it has made me who I am. I think it's given me all that wisdom because I have really, like you, run into a lot of walls. But, there's no there to get to. We're here to be fully human, which goes back to what we're talking about with feelings. If you're in these higher energies, there's not any fluctuation. It's just
It's an
peace.
escape. It's an
Yeah,
escape.
it's an
Yeah.
escape, but we
Well,
didn't.
it's just like the ascension, a movement or
Ah,
whatever.
yeah,
Um, no, seriously. I mean, it obviously it's enough of us have come into the awareness on our personal, transmissions, whatever, that yeah, there's something going on. But it can even be in the wrong place, or there's a place for it, and that is like you were saying, your client said, I thought there was a there. Well, we've all been there, but even as a group, we're doing this. We're subjected to doing this because we're going, okay, we're going to be, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's like a carrot on a stick. And I think the matrix, so to speak, utilizes that. It kind of utilizes that. That's why I get kind of perturbed. I'll admit it. And I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea either. But when I see these, and I'm not taking them anything away from them, I'm just giving my point of view, which is I see these. This transmission is from the Arcturians. You guys are doing a great job. Just wait a little bit longer. It's gonna. You know what? I'm like, you know what? No, we're boots on the ground. Yeah, this is even that can be propaganda. Now, I'm sure it's pure, whoever did it, whatever the case is. And it meets the right person who needs it. It meets me in a different way. Sometimes it's an activation, sometimes it's a trigger, but they're the same damn thing, right?
yeah,
Uh, and ultimately, we're being pushed back to ourselves. That's what I see. Even the grand design of the Matrix is to, like, what did you say a minute ago? It's what did you say? Ridiculous, uh,
ludicrous.
ludicrous. It's ludicrous. It gets to the point that it's ludicrous. So what do you have? Well, you might pare it down to the local family and partner, but even that you can't contain it because it still gets pushed back to you because that becomes ludicrous. The ludicrous thing is leaving ourselves, basically. You
Well,
know,
that's like the number one thing that sensitives do. We abandon ourselves. How do we abandon ourselves? Get me out of here. I don't want to experience this. This is too hard. We go into, don't get me started. You can tell I get passionate about this, but this is what we do. This is what is changing in this shift. We did not learn to be present with these intense feelings. This ties up the generational stuff too. So we abandoned ourselves. We start to tell, oh, like I just posted I'm finishing up a group called Plot Twist, the script flip. Say that 3 times. And it's really about understanding what your triggers are and being able to know what's going on, use the tools, and flip the script because ultimately everything is possible. So I just posted a little drop in for the group yesterday is remember, nothing means anything. You're making it all up. Everything is possible. I mean, there was like 10 things. We're in week, I think tomorrow or Saturday, tomorrow's like week 5 of the group, or maybe it's 6, but we're here to feel, you know? And so here's where I was going with this. Because our minds make up stories about what we're feeling, because our no, I have yet to meet somebody who right off the bat says, "Oh, that's the frequency of fear. That's the frequency of lack." What do we do? Oh my God, I'm afraid because I don't have money because, right? That's what our minds do. And that's how we abandon ourselves. We don't need to analyze. And I know so many people find safety in analysis. I used to be one of those, right? Instead of what do you feel? It was, I could tell you what I thought, but I was, because of the way I grew up, disconnected. But we're here to feel it all, to stay out of story, to realize that we are, just like you said, we're we're not even real. We're just a bunch of energy patterns that our the brilliance of our of this design says, oh, well, this is a microphone and I can't put my hand through it. But we're just translating energy. We're here for the mess. You reminded me of the Seth material that Jane Roberts channeled in the 60s and 70s. It was too much for me then. I mean, I was in the 70s, I just, early 70s, I just graduated from high school, but I was into this stuff. But it's what Seth said all those years ago that everybody else is now saying, that we lined up to be here because there are other dimensional realities. Seth called them gestalts, where if you think liar, liar, pants on fire, boom, flames, right? So we're here to learn to how to focus, to I teach basically reality creation, which is intention and assumption. And for us as sensitives, it's different. It's not mental, it's body. So that's why the nervous system is so important. But we're here to feel it so that we can go on to some other dimensional reality where everything is now and now and now, because that's how it is here. Most people just don't know. We go into stories, right? I don't know if all that made sense, but it's really,
No, it does. It does make sense.
I mean, I used to be one of those people when it was really bad in my life, when the bottom fell out, and I just thought, I don't think I can do this. But because I do remember other lives, I knew I'd have to come back and do it again because it was a soul thing, as you've said, to that it's really just time for you to get this. And I think this is what a lot of people are going through or will go through, really difficult situations.
Yeah. No, I really agree. I do agree with you a lot. And again, going back to your earlier comments about what many people are going to experience, in, let's say next year. Um, and I love what you're saying too, because if we look at our lives, I would bet the vast majority of people that tune into this, we've all run at
Yeah,
times. I'm going to change schools. I'm going to change relationship. I'm going to change where I live. I'm going to, and you leave. And a lot of that was, in our younger years, immaturity could speak to that. But it's also continued to happen. So if you look at that as a metaphor, and even some of the stuff we talked about earlier, some of the stuff I was telling you that I experienced this month. Yeah, you're right. My soul came in and said, you can resist this, but it's not going away.
that's
And you know,
right.
what that did was, because I'm not one that I've never had evidently, I've always had the whatever you want to call it, the balls, the courage to go be the first one out there. Let's go, whatever. Sometimes you make a fool of yourself, and sometimes you're a hero, right? But what happened after this few days, it was I came out the other side, and I started to have this thought, and the thought was, okay, I'm here. I'm back in line. Everything's good. I see it. I can see it, feel it, touch it. Uh, but I don't want to suffer.
Yeah,
I don't want to have any health problems. And my family's got strong genes. It's not something that I ever think about, but it was something that entered, and I had to work with it for a few days and
sure.
say, okay, well, run this scenario, run that scenario, run this scenario. What if I get sick? I'm in Mexico, and I don't have anybody around, or what if I live in a second story, so how would I get up the steps if I can't? Like, so I'm having all these thoughts, but that's the power of what we've created, and that's again, that's I didn't kick it out. I didn't say, oh, I don't want to think about that. Oh, you know what? No, I said, sit with me, show
Yeah,
me what you got to show me.
come on
And
in.
you know
Yeah,
what I
come
mean?
on
Yeah. And I was just like, okay, well, if that happens, that happens. And
in. Yeah.
what's the difference, Todd? If what's the difference if it's a financial scenario, a medical scenario, maybe you go back to your younger days and they put you in jail or something, or a psych ward or whatever. What's the difference? There is no difference. Do you trust the universe?
That
Do
boom,
you
boom.
trust yourself?
I
You
need a
know?
bell. Ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
ding.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
That
it. That's
that's
it. I
it.
mean, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm talking to a woman here who was incapacitated and lost every stream, got cut off. And so that, and I think that also, I've had a lot of people talk about their traumatic experiences that was related to their evolution, and some have had to that degree. I can't relate to that, but I also know that it's energy, like you said, and the people that you acknowledged earlier, one way or the other, they went through it, right? I mean, they went through it, and I'm so glad you brought that up. That's been the best part of the show. I don't want to keep you for 2.5 hours. We're already at two, but I want
Oh
to
my
ask you.
goodness, so quick. Yeah.
I want to ask you a couple of questions, just for my own. Um, Now, so the first one is I used to be an avid reader. I told you, and I recognize that two, three of those books. I'd like to know what your three favorite books are, and I'd like to know because next time we talk, I'd like to get into this a little bit deeper. But I'd like to know, like, what are the, because you mentioned, and I know you're very, very well versed and you do your homework. Like, you're serious, you're not just, a good teacher is a good student, right? And so, what are like the three basic components of your practice? So what are your three favorite books? And that's more for me, but like, what are the three basic components? You mentioned a few things, but I'm just curious as what the basic structure of it is.
Well, let's start with the books. The I'm not really a reader. I'm not really a seeker anymore because I think so many of us get knowledge and we're still seeking. Like, what am I missing? There's got to be some piece, and it isn't. It's what you've said. We just got to go, well, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. So, I if somebody can wade through it, I love the Seth books that Jane Roberts channeled, The Nature of Personal Reality. Oh my God, it is, I think, I forget when she channeled that. That might have been 71, and it is really what quantum physics and, my favorite cognitive neuroscientist is talking about now. It's just incredible. And so it would be the nature of personal reality or any of the Seth books. Um, gosh, another book would be another book would be some of the Neville Goddard books. Like I have here the essential, I have my microphone on Neville Goddard's essential collection. I'm not really versed in the Bible because I decided when I was, I don't know, 12, I just thought this feels off. So, I was a Buddhist early on that made no sense, but I've probably been a Buddhist in other lives. I love Neville Goddard because he talks about what neuroscience is speaking to now. And he was so ahead of his time that assumption and intention create, because you got to have both of them together, right? Those would be my favorite books. And the core of my teaching is I just have spent some time redoing my website. Look, I really meet people where they are. My basic premise is everything happens through your body. And I work with sensitives because we're an unrecognized form of neurodivergence. I actually just this morning saw, what's her name? I'm probably murdering it. Mayambolic. She's actually a neuroscientist. She's on YouTube. She's great. Like she's interviewed Deepak Chopra and everybody who's famous. And I just saw this morning that she's talking about neurodivergence and she's putting us in there because we are. We're neurodivergent and nobody talks about it. We're literally biologically different. So we're not screwed up, right? So anyway, my people, so the pillars of my coaching or my group programs are, at some level that you are the creator of your life. A lot of people know that at some level. They've done inner work and it's not working because the nervous system is the last to go. And we have to be persistent and consistent. So, I work with somatic tools. So I meet them where they are. I really don't work with people. I'll just say this. This is just me being me. If you've decided you're a victim, I'm just not your best fit right now. There are other people that I just don't have patience for. I have endless patience for people who are willing to look at themselves and look at their patterns because really all we are is a bunch of patterns that can change, right? I hope this makes sense.
No, that makes sense. That makes total
Yeah.
sense.
So, everybody's at a different place. I don't work with people who need EMDR. It's just not my focus. So the pillars are it's identity work because the only way we change our lives permanently is to change our self concept, which is identity. Who we think we are is all made up. And it's
Hmm.
those welcome to being human beliefs. We looked around and said, how is it here? Oh, money's scarce. Women are mean. Men are mean. I don't count. I'm not enough. That's what our ego is. But it's
Hmm.
all made up. We're like actors in a play. So, if we want different experiences in our lives, the only real way to create lasting change is to become more self aware and to decide who is this person. If I were if I were watching a play, what would the actor be like that's living the kind of life that I want? Because that's all the only thing that's going on. This is all made up.
Mm.
And then, I work with people either in groups or one on one to step into those changes. And it happens in the body, it's not here.
Mm.
It's not saying affirmations or cutting cords or, sorry, for
Yeah,
anybody who's
I'm in
listening.
agreement with you there. I've
None
never
of that,
believed in it.
yeah, it's none of that BS.
Yeah,
Like,
the cutting cords thing is just a form of resistance.
yeah,
That's why I don't even block people on Facebook unless it's some kind of lunatic.
yeah, yeah. So that's really, I mean, my work is really identity work through the nervous system. Ultimately, my big message that, I mean, ultimately, if somebody can hear it, is you're a soul with skin. You are God. You're all that is, having an experience, and it can be anything that you want, and that you're here for a reason, ultimately. But, people aren't there yet. Some people are. I mean, I worked with somebody, I think I said I worked with somebody last year to double his income. He now, it's for him. So it can be very practical. He went from 10 to 20,000 a month to 20 to 30,000 a month consistently. And now he knows how that works, following the energy. He didn't do more. He just followed the energy and started to trust himself. You said it. And now he's working on this. He came to me for weight loss, but the weight is really a way to get his attention because there's this big dream he's had since he was a kid that he shared with me. And now it's time for that to bloom. It's time for that. So, that's how I work with people.
That's beautiful. I love that. We'll have to talk about that a little bit more. And something else you just brought up. I forgot. Oh, you were talking about the Seth material. Oh, Goddard. Yeah, some of those subjects. Yeah, that was helpful. I've read a lot of books, a couple of thousand books. I haven't read in years, so I can't do it anymore. But uh, I've never read. I've listened to some videos of his words being spoken that Brian Scott does.
Yeah.
Uh,
You mean
I've never, huh?
Neville
Never
Goddard or Seth? Which
Neville
one?
Goddard, Neville Goddard. I've not read the Seth material. I picked the book up, one of the books up one time and bought it, and then somebody borrowed it, and I never got to read it. But I'm pretty familiar with what they did, but yeah, those are a couple of really good recommendations.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I really really enjoy speaking with you. I'm excited to collaborate with you again too, because I like to dive into some of the things that you're talking about here at the end, especially. And I know we talked a bit about the nervous system last time, but yeah, that seems to be a real big indicator. I love what you're saying about the victim consciousness thing. This has always been something I thought, if we're doing this, victim consciousness would seem to me that it's going to go away. Like it's just not going to hold salt anymore. So I'm happy to hear that, and I like the way you explain and humanize everything in terms of welcome to being a human. Because if you look at it, the whole realm is set up to make us a victim. I mean, it's
Well,
perpetuating. It's perpetu. You're not good enough. You can't do this. Why can't I? For somebody to say to you, "I can't do this because of him or her or whatever," you might as well just you're just giving power away to the external. Period. It doesn't matter what face of it is. So I think that's a big pill to swallow. But I know just from talking to you that it's a very comprehensive approach, and I can appreciate what you're saying. Like it's different every time, so to speak. It just depends
yes.
on what you're looking at, or what's being shared with you. But yeah, I would love to talk about that some of these things more with you, and catch up with you again if you're open to it in a couple
I
of
would,
months, maybe.
yeah, I would love to. And just maybe, I think this issue of power, I mean, that's the theme for the next 20 years. That's what we're
Mm,
seeing in politics, who's got the power. But then, when you understand the nature of reality,
mm,
it's like, wait a minute, I forgot. I'm the
mm,
projector, not the screen, right? That's what one of my clients just realized, that she's the projector. We're projecting it.
mm,
So that's why, because hey, I'm probably, I think a lot of people that I work with, everybody that I work with they're smart, they're logical, they've, you know, logicked their way through life and doing, and they're just ready for things to be easy. To
mm,
just tie this into, what we said earlier, because when you understand the nature of reality, which our nervous systems don't yet, you can say, hey, I'm source with a body, but your nervous system is going, Oh, no, that, that whatever is real. And that's what we have to work with. And
Mhm.
that's power, who has the power. So
Mm,
these are the themes for the next 20 years with Pluto and Aquarius, astrologers would say.
mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, this is what humanity is facing, that we're seeing as all these old systems collapse and the new has not started to emerge yet. It's a pretty
Yeah.
scary thing for our nervous systems. Where
Yeah.
I'm going to send out an email to my list tomorrow, and I think the title is going to be Are you a junkie?" Or "We're all junkies,"
Mm,
because we love, we hate uncertainty. Our
mm,
bodies hate uncertainty. That's why we scroll. That's why we check our email. That's why we drink or eat, because that's how our body goes, oh, dopamine, dopamine. We're all dopamine junkies.
mm,
And right now, even if you're not in the thick of what's changing, if you're a feeler like my people are, like I am, you feel it. We're wired that way. So we feel all this stuff going on, even if it has nothing to do with us. It's just that most people think it's their stuff.
mm,
So what do? We go for dopamine. Oh, let me check my phone, because the body
mm,
goes, okay, that feels certain.
mhm.
This is really you know, crazy, crazy time for humanity when you really, like, I really try to understand the science of what we're going through, because we've never done this before,
Yeah.
and it is terrifying. It's just terrifying and especially,
Mhm.
I mean, terrifying for people who don't understand the nature of reality, that think it's solid and immovable.
Yeah.
They don't know they're the cause. And I mean, even if you do, all of our stuff is coming up.
Yeah.
Like, it seems pretty real to me that no money's coming in or no clients,
Mhm.
right? You know,
Yeah.
so it's going to be a crazy few years. Anyway, I would love
Yeah.
to come back. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good stuff. Yeah. We could do this all day long.
Yeah, we could. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thanks for
Yeah, of
having me.
course. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Wanda. And for those who are interested, I'll be back in 2 hours and wait, what time is it? 1 hour and 45 minutes with Raylene Brady, another lit divine feminine like Wanda. Take it easy. Peace out.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.